On January 7, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck Dingri near Shikatse, Tibet's second-largest city, claiming more than 126 lives, injuring over 300 and displacing 47,000 people. With freezing temperatures as low as minus 15 degrees Celsius, survivors face dire conditions while over 3,000 homes lie in ruins. Despite Tibetan communities mobilizing for relief, reports suggest the Chinese government has restricted local participation in relief efforts, raising critical questions about the recovery process. To explore these pressing issues, we are joined today by Tempa Gyaltsen Zamlha, Deputy Director of the Tibet Policy Institute. He will provide insights into the causes and impacts of these earthquakes, the challenges facing affected communities, and the broader implications of the Chinese government's response. Welcome to our program, Tempa.
Thank you, Pandit Chudala, for inviting me.
So I'd like to begin by asking you this. The recent earthquake in Dingri has drawn a lot of media attention worldwide. But if you notice that in the reports, the reference to Tibet has been significantly different over different media outlets, right? We can see that Tibet has been referred as Tibet Autonomous Region or Chinese propaganda name of Xizang or Southern Tibet, or many has also referred to Tibet as Tibet. So how does Tibet Policy Institute interpret these terminologies, and what are the implications for Tibet's identity on the global stage?
Pandela, first of all, the Tibet Policy Institute and of course many Tibetans who live outside of Tibet, we are extremely saddened by the tragic earthquake in Tibet, where our fellow Tibetan brothers and sisters lost life and lost homes. Yes, the media coverage on the earthquake in Tibet was massive, and on a large scale it was positive. That despite Chinese government's immense effort economically and politically to change the narrative on Tibetan identity, the national name of Tibet as something else has not been implemented by most of the media outlets. So I would say almost all media outlets, international media outlets, refer to the region as Tibet, not as part of China or anything else, just as Tibet, as a sovereign state with its name, and the people as Tibetans and nation as Tibet. But there were very few news outlets who followed Chinese narrative, I would say purely out of ignorance or other political reasons. But generally there was positive reference to Tibet as Tibet.
And also, many also feel that the earthquake in Tibet, the coverage on earthquake in Tibet was overshadowed by other global events like the California wildfires, which happened at the same time, right around that time. So, which also dominated the headlines. So, do you think the earthquake in Tibet and its visibility affect relief efforts and the global understanding or international community's understanding of the situation of Tibet?
That's right. As soon as the January 7th earthquake that happened in Tibet, there was massive international media coverage. And every time there is a media coverage as well as public attention to the issue, that compels any government, particularly the Chinese government, to put maximum effort in bringing relief to the people and also to the region. Unfortunately, the California wildfire definitely overshadowed some of the attention to the earthquake in Tibet. But still, I would say there was great international media coverage, and I think that supported or compelled the Chinese government to put its own efforts in narrating the support the Chinese government is putting in the region.
Despite Chinese government's clampdown on Tibetans actively participating in relief efforts, because we can see many videos coming from Tibet on the social media platforms, on YouTube, where Tibetans in large number, many influencers coming out from Tibet as well, coming together and bringing relief effort and trucks and cars towards the earthquake-prone area, right? This area, affected area. So I like to ask, what does this response say about the unity and resilience of the Tibetan people during such crisis?
Yes, despite the immense sadness caused by the loss of life of our fellow Tibetans in Tibet and also the destruction caused, it is heartwarming to see that almost all Tibetans across Tibet, be it from Witsang, Kham, Amdo, anywhere, there was massive outpouring of support. People who have economic ability, they were pouring in economic support. People who are far away and have are also organizing prayer sessions, showing their support for fellow Tibetans who are suffering due to earthquake in Dingri. It's heartwarming, and it's something that we as Tibetans who live outside of Tibet, despite wanting to help the Tibetans, particularly our brothers and sisters in Dingri, we are not able to do it because of Chinese occupation. But our fellow Tibetans across Tibet is putting immense effort in supporting our Tibetans in Dingri. So, despite these restrictions, this unity is a positive aspect for Tibet and Tibet's future. And also the Tibet government here in exile, or the Central Tibetan Administration, we had public prayer sessions on 8th of January, and also His Holiness presided a public prayer session on 9th of January to pray for the people, our fellow Tibetans who lost life in Dingri, and also the immense quick recovery from the immense destruction. So this is a unity that has been displayed by Tibetans despite Chinese repression and occupation. So as we have the saying in Tibetan that all Tibetans will live kina kidu nyam ki duna nyam du. So say basically to translate roughly into English, it's that we all Tibetans will, if there's happiness, we'll enjoy it together. If there's sadness, we'll endure it together. So that's what I think did by the Tibetans in Tibet and also Tibetans outside of Tibet.
I'll also like to ask, why do you think Chinese government is doing that at this point of time when the people in Dingri, those affected by the earthquake, they really need help? And if people are coming forward to provide help, why they are not letting Tibetans to do that?
So, because Tibet does not belong to China, basically, because China is an occupying colonial power that has occupied Tibet in 1950s through military expansion. So any colonizer or any occupant, they are nervous about the unity that would be displayed or created during such event. So I think it's purely out of fear for the Tibetan unity, and also lack of concern for the Tibetans as non-Chinese, as people who are separate from China. So I think definite fear of Tibetan unity and also lack of concern for the Tibetans. That's why they are not allowing Tibetans to have a free movement in Tibet to help the people in Dingri, and also to the Tibetans who live outside of Tibet who want to help people in Dingri. Restriction on them is a clear indication of Chinese lack of concern for the Tibetans.
And this help and relief aid are coming from across Tibet, right? Not just the Central Tibet, but from other provinces.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have seen people from Kham and Amdo. If they have to drive a truck, it will take at least 2 to 3 days. But still, they are organizing such relief and also organizing prayer sessions purely to show solidarity with the Tibetans in Dingri. So there's a clear solidarity for our fellow Tibetans.
So talking about the environmental concerns and factors regarding this whole earthquake, this time in Tibet, over the years we have seen large-scale infrastructures project in Tibet, including mega dams recently in the news, and also extensive mining that is taking place in Tibet by the Chinese government's greed, and which have raised significant environmental concerns. So how does TPI, Tibet Policy Institute, view the environmental impacts of these developments, and do you have any data or research on how these projects are affecting Tibet's fragile ecology?
The impact of Chinese occupation that has resulted in destruction of the Tibet environment is immense, particularly since its occupation in the 1950s and then the acceleration of mining and dam construction in Tibet. Now, scientifically, it's proven that Tibet Plateau is highly fragile, and also it's a highly seismic prone zone. So if we as a Tibetan, if we are the governing body, if we have the power to govern ourselves, we will not build mega dams for the safety of the Tibetan people and also for the health of the Tibetan plateau. But because Chinese government has no concern for the Tibetans or for the Tibet plateau, they have first built many large mega dams in recent years and also expanded some of the mines across Tibet. So many of the mines that have expanded across Tibet has desecrated our sacred mountains, polluted rivers, displaced nomads. Similarly, the mega dams that are being built on the Nichu River and also the Yanlun Sambor River have caused the displacement of Tibetan people and inundation of historical heritage sites. So this clearly shows that there's lack of concern for the Tibetan people and also lack of concern for the environment well-being of the Tibet plateau. Now I'll give you one example. Tibet plateau has seen increasing number of natural disasters in recent years. Of course, a lot of natural disasters happen naturally, but many of these other natural disasters are induced by development projects that are ill managed or ill implemented, or the policy that have been framed for the implementation of these projects are not carefully considered. Therefore, this is a clear indication that there's a lack of saying for the Tibetans, that all the policies are made in regard for the benefits of the Chinese, for the benefit of the Chinese government, and not for the Tibetan people or the Tibet as a large.
Mm-hmm. So is there any connection between these large-scale developments and increasing frequency of earthquake aftershocks and subsequent destruction of infrastructures and threat to human lives?
As I stated in my earlier response, that Tibet is a highly seismic prone zone, and it's been clearly proven by scientific studies, and also it has been stated by Chinese scientists themselves. Despite this scientific knowledge, the Chinese government has accelerated the dam construction in the region. Now, globally, it is acknowledged that dams do induce earthquake, and also a Chinese engineer named Fan Shen has stated through his studies that the two most recent earthquakes, a large-scale earthquake, first one was the 2008 earthquake in Wenchuan, a border between the China and Tibet, was caused by a nearby dam called Zipingpu, and another earthquake in 2014, again on the border between Tibet and China, on Ludin or Chaksam area, was induced by another dam called Shiludu in the region. So it's clear that dams do induce earthquake, and construction of dozens of dams on the Tibetan rivers puts immense risk the lives of Tibetans and also the lives of millions of people who live downstream where Tibetan rivers flow. So I'll give you one example. First, the dams induce earthquake, so basically accelerates the occurrence of earthquake. Second, any of the earthquake causes a crack on one of those dams, one of those mega dams, which leads to collapse of that dam, would pose immense destruction to the people in Tibet and also to people in India, Bangladesh, Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia, where the river flows, because it causes sudden flash flood.
Flash floods.
Yes.
And given Tibetans' deep connection to their land and extensive knowledge, indigenous knowledge, what urgent steps should be prioritized now, not only for immediate relief, but also for ensuring long-term recovery and resilience of Tibetan communities? And also, how can this knowledge be effectively integrated into policies, planning, and environmental practices to mitigate future disasters and promote sustainable development in Tibet? What is your opinion on that?
We Tibetans have lived on the Tibet plateau for thousands of years. We are the people who basically live with the land, and our identity is connected with the land, and we know the behavior of the land, its climatic conditions. So we have lived, our traditional way of life has been highly environment friendly, to accommodate or live successfully on the plateau despite its fragile, harsh climatic condition. Therefore, the Chinese government must incorporate Tibetan wisdoms, particularly the traditional knowledge, into framing any policy regard to Tibetan people, and also people who implement those policies or decide on those policies should be Tibetans. Recent development policies that the Chinese government has framed across Tibet clearly indicate that most of the policies are framed in view of benefit for the Chinese government and the Chinese people, and not for the Tibetan people or Tibet. To counter that, the Chinese government need to give Tibetans the necessary power to govern themselves, decide for themselves, and also implement the development policies. Otherwise, the increasing number of natural disasters that we have seen will only accelerate in the coming years, and the destruction could only be increasing. For that, people's view should be considered, and traditional knowledge should be incorporated into policies.
So Tempa, these are my questions for this conversation. Thank you so much for taking out your time today to discuss on this very crucial and important matter of the earthquake in Tibet. And this has been a very informative conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
With this, we have come to the end of today's program of In Conversation with Tibet TV. Thank you so much for watching.